Hello and welcome to Nerd Talk. I'm Pixie.
I'm Sen.
And I'm pyrosim.
And we're proud to announce our partnership, if you will, with Eldritch Enterprises. Hooray!
We now have Cthulhu on our side. We are unstoppable.
I'm not sure what you do, but with a name like that, I support it.
No, not Eldritch. Eldridge with a D.
Oh.
Doesn't matter.
I'm gonna lose this
Still
sponsorship
support it.
as soon as we've got it. So,
We love our sponsors.
you guys are terrible. So, Eldritch Enterprises Inc., they're a super rad company that provides IT services to small to mid-sized businesses in Indiana. If you want to check out more of what they do, you can like them on Facebook at facebook.com/Eldridge Enterprises. That's ELDRIDGE Enterprises. I'm going to assume you know how to spell enterprises. You're a smart bunch. So, having said that, let's get to it.
It's E3 week! Holy crap.
It is. And while E3 week is going to be on its way out by the time this airs, we can talk about some of the early stuff now, because that's really most of what anybody's paying attention to anyway.
Right. All we care about is the big announcement press conferences. And everyone's already had theirs, so yay. Who do we want to start with first? I can't look away from the train wreck.
So...
The one that was really bad. The one that was also the first in the day.
And 2 weeks ago also.
I guess we'll do this chronologically.
So, Microsoft. I see you brought some games there.
They did bring games. And a price point.
Yeah. Why, guys? Why? Okay, so let's go over it. So, who highlighted the Microsoft press conference? Metal Gear Solid 5? Starring Kiefer Sutherland?
Jack Bauer as Snake.
Which, we're missing our own Snake this week, which is terrible, but...
Well, let's give him a bit of credit. So, unlike the previous Metal Gears, this one's going open world, and has a horse.
Horses, yeah.
So, Red Dead Redemption beat you to it quite a while ago. Alright, so we've got Jack Bauer as Snake, when you have a perfectly good David Hayter still sitting there going, hey guys, I'm still here.
It's a little weird that they don't have any reason to make this change that I can tell. They just did.
Right. It's not like he was demanding more money or anything.
Not like Robert Downey Jr. on Avengers 2. No, he was just hanging around.
Yeah, he wasn't like, $15 million or I won't voice your Snake. It was like, you guys were going to ask me to do this, right?
He was like, it never happened. They just kind of passed him over. He was just as surprised as anybody else. It was like finding out that you didn't get invited to a party by seeing all the pictures on Facebook the next day.
He didn't even get a rejection letter.
I imagine that must have been very sad.
Yeah, the trailer is highlighting, we have tons of vehicles.
Trailer.
Moving on. Great. So has every game since, the next generation happened 6 years ago. Lots of games have lots of vehicles. Moving on. You have weather. So does World of Warcraft. Just saying. I'm pretty sure I've got a TI 86 that can run WoW. But, this has a strong theme and anti-war message.
And everyone didn't?
Do we have confirmation as to whether this is going to be an exclusive title? I don't think it was.
I don't believe so.
It seems super unlikely with Kojima being a Sony enthusiast. This has to be multi-platform. It wouldn't be a Microsoft exclusive.
We can do one announcement that is an exclusive if we're ready to step on to the next game.
Yep.
Dead Rising 3, announced by Capcom, which also has gone open world and features...
Yeah, okay, so Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain is going to be on Xbox 360, PS3, Xbox One, and PS4. So the only thing is not coming on is the Wii U and the PC.
Sad. We'll get to that later. So yes, Capcom showed off a good portion of Dead Rising 3's gameplay, which features an open world of Las Perdidas, which is the Dead Rising equivalent of Los Angeles. Full-scale zombie apocalypse, and pretty much a full open world for you to explore and slaughter zombies in. No load screens.
So is this one of the protagonists that we've seen before?
Nope. You are playing as a brand new character, Nick Ramos.
I hope he has a cool job.
No, by the way his shirt looks, he is a mechanic.
Oh.
But if it's like all of the other Dead Rising games, you will be able to customize his outfit freely into whatever bit of insanity you want, and pretty much make up your own narrative, which will be 10 times better than Capcom's. Always the best part of those games.
I think my favorite takeaway from the entire Dead Rising series is just, I've covered wars, you know. Just slot that into any scenario.
You know, I'm not going to argue with that.
I liked the crazy combining of weapons shtick.
That was also true. A tricycle that has blenders on its wheels is not bad.
Which is totally still there. In the gameplay trailer they showed, you combined a sledgehammer and a bandsaw into a sledge saw. Yes. I don't know how hitting something harder with a spinning blade increases damage, but whatever, I'm not going to argue with it.
At the very minimum, I wouldn't want anybody to hit me with one of those, so...
I was gonna say we could do science, Sen.
Well, we're already one step above Doom 3, which, you know, happened about 10 years ago, by the fact that one of the first things they showed was duct taping a flashlight to a handgun. Which, unfortunately, the way modern guns work, would just break the gun, depending on how you taped it.
Melt the tape.
I was gonna say maybe if you put it on the bottom, but that would make it unwieldy to hold.
Right. I don't know much about guns, but I know the slidey bit has to be able to slide freely to reload the gun and eject the cartridge.
The slidey bit. Sen, we missed you.
He's not wrong.
I don't know technical firearm terms.
We could play that. We could play that game where you try and describe something you have no idea what you're talking about.
We call this just like having a conversation with Sen, typically, don't we? Moving on. So yes, we also still have more shots of Call of Duty plus dog.
More dogs?
That should have just been the title, Call of Duty with dog.
That should have been their opener for their press conference. It's just like, we know what you want.
More dog.
This is a dog. It's just the gif of the animator moving the rig of the dog's jaw.
You know, it probably would have gone better if they just had the dog run the press conference instead of some of the people they brought out.
Dog in little mocap suit with little green bubbles on it. Be adorable.
Would have gone better than most of their talking heads.
Have dog with tail wagging, get money.
Right.
Yep.
So they did one announcement that I actually do care about, which is the spiritual follow-up to Panzer Dragoon, called Crimson Dragon. It's an on-rails dragon-based shooter. Yay. Like, yep, that makes money. On the same note, Microsoft announced that they're going to be resurrecting Killer Instinct, because no one really wanted that. I'm just saying, there are a lot of hardcore fighting game communities. I have never heard of one for Killer Instinct. Ever.
Microsoft doesn't care what the people want. Microsoft does what Microsoft wants.
We own Rare.
You've got Forza Motorsport 5.
Yeah, because Gran Turismo exists.
The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt.
Because those have sold so well. Crytek wants to go medieval, or specifically Roman, on us all. Rise, Son of Rome, which is a mostly quick-time event-based combat game set in the Fall of Rome days. Yeah, because God of War was popular.
Sure.
Let's do it with more graphics. Okay. Oh my god, I'm just so sad for what has happened to Microsoft. Like, I can't even get excited about the new Halo, because all they did was show a cinematic trailer of Master Chief wandering around a desert.
Let's see. You've got Titanfall.
Yep.
It's a shooter.
That's the sequel to Titan Trip.
Like, I'm not excited about one of these games.
So everybody was all like, oh my gosh, they only did TV stuff, where are all the games, blah. So at least they came out with the games like I'd predicted.
Yep.
Do we want to talk about the things that they didn't do so great?
Yeah.
Have at it. I'm sure we can make a nice list. Okay, so starting off, $500 price point for your console. Market research says your leading competitor is selling theirs at $400. Brilliant.
Well, market research being the press conference that happened later in the day, so...
Right, but I'm sure, I'm 100% positive there was some back-and-forth industrial espionage, some spying going on that could have told them, hey, Sony's planning on launching theirs at this price.
Maybe not. It's possible that Sony made that decision in the interval between press conferences.
Or they're just like, we can afford to do this. Screw you!
Yeah, and where we were kind of hoping for a little backpedaling after the, overwhelmingly negative reaction to some of their new policies, yeah, none. None whatsoever. That
Really?
game that you bought, you still don't own it.
They didn't address it in any way at all.
Nope.
It just kind of didn't get brought up.
And in fact, it went so bad that Sony made videos mocking them.
$500 doesn't seem bad to me. Like, I want these systems to be really good so that they can do all of the various things that they're going to be doing for the next generation. Like, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One are almost identical in terms of their hardware specs. One of them has a little more memory and the other one has moderately faster memory, but they're essentially equivalent. The one thing that would make the Xbox One more expensive is the Kinect. And by not bundling a Kinect, Sony isn't taking as much of a hit on selling the PS4 at $400. But my read of $400 for the PS4 is that Sony is hungry, and they are taking a loss on these consoles because they are not willing to lose this fight, and they're just gonna go in and do whatever it takes. And sort of that Microsoft is kind of arrogant coming out of this generation, thinking that they have hearts and minds coming out of 7th gen, and the hearts and minds that they have are going to have them riding high in 8th gen without them having to do anything for it.
Right. Yeah, that 22-second video is a direct I won E3 at Microsoft.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And it just got worse during the Sony press conference because, like, they just, every single slide was a jab at Microsoft, and they were all great.
It was just like, oh, by the way, it's $100 less.
By the way, it's $100 less. By the way, PlayStation Plus is going to be mandatory for online. No need for it if you're just planning on playing offline. There's no check-in whatsoever.
They just kind of slipped in the fact that you have to pay to play online for Sony console now, and nobody really cares.
But you know what? I've been doing it for so long with my 360, I don't care anymore with my PlayStation.
That was one of the big, like, fanboy selling points, was that you don't have to pay to play online, and now that's not true anymore. Not that I'm particularly hurt by it, but...
You know what? Don't care. Next generation, it's fine. Because if they continue the level of service that people who already have PlayStation Plus are getting, you know, free games, free extra content,
free games
free
that
videos.
You are paying for by paying for that service.
Right. But as in they are handing you full retail games. Like, you can play Super Street Fighter 4 for free on the PlayStation Network just for having it.
For free by paying for it.
That's what I keep saying.
Which I totally understand where you're coming from saying that, and it's kind of hard to talk about this, but it's like, in exchange for giving them your money, they give you a free thing.
Yes. So I'm subscribing to this service, and I get to play these games that I have not bought for subscribing to their service.
Uh-huh. I want to provide a bit of a counterpoint for the excitement that most people have expressed over the PlayStation 4 doing disc exchange the same way that every console ever has so far. Which is that I don't think that Microsoft's model is necessarily super bad. The downside of it is that by not trading in games, it is harder for people with limited budgets, which is to say absolutely everybody, because rich people are so scarce that we shouldn't even think about them, and so privileged that we don't need to cater to them, that those people don't get to play as many games without being able to trade in because you get money back and you get credit towards other games. That is okay if Microsoft follows the Steam model and sells their games for super cheap all the time. Because you can't trade in Steam games, but you can still play a lot of Steam games because of sales. And the convenience of not having to put discs in the drive all the time seems like actually pretty important. Like, it seems like a novel convenience, but also just switching between things really quickly seems like a different dynamic than before. And then I'm going to counterpoint myself immediately with, if you want to purchase things and have them associated digitally with you for your lifetime, that is still an option on PlayStation by just doing a digital purchase, because there are day one digital releases. So if you like the Microsoft model, you can get it.
If that's what you're up for.
The one place where the difference is not split is you can't do a day one digital purchase and then not have to do a 10, 20 gigabyte download by merit of using a disc, but the people who are in that gap are the people who would suffer from internet connection failures, spotty internet, that would make the Xbox One check-ins a problem. So if you are super wired, then you can just be like, yeah, I'll just download the whole thing. It's no problem.
But we can also confirm that space isn't going to be an issue with the PlayStation 4, because it does come with a 500 gigabyte hard drive.
And also isn't region locked.
Yeah, that's kind of a huge deal, because, if I want to play games from Japan to practice my language, actually get to play good RPGs.
The same way you can on the PS3?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to be able to play games.
No, I'm just saying this is not a change from before, but...
And, well, it is a change from...
the competition.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple 360 exclusive RPGs that I actually would have liked to have gotten to play.
Just as an addendum to Sen saying, if I want to play games from Japan, the addendum is, and I do, because there's lots of weird Japanese games that just don't get localized.
Right. We were kind of lucky to get Tokyo Jungle, which is just all kinds of weird insanity.
Mm-hmm. Looks interesting, though.
Yeah, but for every one game that we are lucky enough to have ported over, there are dozens that just don't come.
Mm-hmm.
And one example of that we would be touting out, if not for some strange miracle, is something Pixie will be talking about later in the show.
Woo! So, I guess we can move on to the next major press conference, which is...
Really? Really? No, we're not skipping past this.
Okay. Sorry, you did get it ready. Excellent. Let's go.
So, people talk about trash talk a lot in video game culture, and it's kind of terrible anyway. We shouldn't need to yell at each other in order to have fun, but that's a whole other argument. So, during the demonstration for Killer Instinct at the Microsoft event, a male producer for Killer Instinct, so one of the guys who made the game, and an Xbox Live community manager, a woman who's never played this game before in her life, decided to play on stage. Obviously, the guy on the Killer Instinct side was beating her, and then he says some really messed up things.
Yep.
Like, just let it happen, it'll be over soon, and you like this, don't you?
Yep.
I had not heard the "you like this, don't you?" I had missed that part of the quote. So, this is a rape reference. Besides the fact that they're being like, women aren't good at video games in this.
It's disgusting.
Microsoft did a bad thing.
There were some rumors that this was scripted, which would have made it even worse, but Microsoft came out and said that it wasn't.
Did they come out and distance themselves from it corporately?
A Microsoft spokesperson told Kotaku, the comments in question during the Killer Instinct demo were not scripted. The demo was meant to include friendly gameplay banter, and there was no ill intent. I don't see an apology in that.
See, what that's supposed to say, if they're sane, is, and we find this reprehensible, and we have fired the... or...
that person will no longer be representing us, and I don't... This was... And then people go, no, there's no rape culture, and video games don't have a problem with women. It's just unbelievably gross. It's scummy.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole story there. There's no...
Oh, by the way,
terrible.
the guy had a fight stick too, so he had even more of an advantage over her.
Fight stick versus a gamepad.
Yeah, so it starts at like 35 seconds in on the video that I linked you there, where he goes, "You like this, don't you?" And she goes, "No, I don't like this." And I found it really, I felt ill.
And as a coda, I guess I'll just reiterate that, as Sen said, this was a game that nobody even asked for.
Yeah, I don't think anyone sat down with their Killer Instinct 2 and was like, man, only they'd make a next-gen version. No, this game exists because it's one of the few franchises that Rare owns. And so, as a result of Microsoft owning Rare, they can get this as an exclusive.
Mm-hmm. And what sells consoles are exclusives, but they just unsold me on this console. I wanted to believe in Microsoft's next generation of consoles, but I am so dumb.
You were so looking forward to the Xbox conference, like, yeah, Halo, yeah, all the other Microsoft exclusives. This is going to be the console for me, and I think over the last 3 weeks, you've completely switched gears here.
I was just like, well, I guess I'm getting a PlayStation 4 now, and nothing but. Oh, and my PC, that I love my PC.
Woo.
So, I kind of want to move on to another company's press conference.
Okay. We could not let a week go by without me addressing that.
I understand completely.
The rape thing is no fun and not funny, and there's no jokes there, but it's terrible, and yep, it was a rape joke, and
Microsoft, you should feel bad for that.
yeah.
Really, there's no way that people at that demonstration, they had no way of knowing that anybody in that audience wouldn't have been triggered by that. They should have come out and apologized as it was happening.
That it just wasn't in incredibly poor taste.
Yeah. Ugh.
Okay, so
Mirror's Edge 2, oh my god, I want to play Mirror's Edge 2, I liked Mirror's Edge 1.
I beat me to another company. So yes, EA's press conference, they kind of did their usual shtick. Okay, so EA, we've got a new Mirror's Edge coming. Yay, that basically covers it for EA partners, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, EA seemed super weak during their show, and that's kind of sad, to be honest.
There was a Plants vs. Zombies shooter named Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. The title is a pun on Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Right. It's the big Zynga announcements. So yeah, we've got Plants vs. Zombies 2, Peggle 2, which it may just be me, but I don't see the relevance in all of that. Titanfall, which looks kind of interesting. It's an Xbox One exclusive. Big stompy mech robots. We only really have cinematics so far. There's no gameplay footage. At least no credible gameplay footage, I would say.
The nuts thing about Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare is that Plants vs. Zombies was a tower defense game. The sequel is a first-person shooter. And that's just nonsense. And it's nonsense in a way that I can get behind.
I suppose. We did have the announcement of the continuation of the Star Wars game franchises.
Woo!
Battlefront will officially be returning. Which, okay, I guess if you want a big shooter that features Star Wars things, could be worse. I never played any of the Battlefronts, I don't know, either of you?
I played a tiny bit.
The first one I played back on the PlayStation 2 with my brother. So,
Right.
that was a long time ago.
As far as recently beloved Star Wars games go, Battlefront is amongst the most well-received ones.
Right, so I guess that's a cool announcement. I don't know, Star Wars, I want more story out of my Star Wars universe than I feel I'll get from Battlefront. Like, my big Star Wars games have been the Knights of the Old Republic ones. Those were the ones I could really get into, or the Jedi Knight series, because those had interesting stories behind them, and I got to play with a lightsaber.
EA at this point holds the entire Star Wars gaming license.
Right.
So they pretty much have everything to dabble in, and it's exclusive, so nobody else can make anything. So if they were really coming out swinging, the 3 games... Okay, there's 4 franchises that anybody would care about from Star Wars. A new Knights of the Old Republic game.
Which is never gonna happen.
Right, never gonna happen.
Wait, I hear there's an MMO for that.
There is, and it's doing...
It takes place several hundred years later. I still haven't gotten closure.
It does address some of the plot events, though. There are minor relationships between them.
Yeah, remember, you got to beat the living tar out of Revan.
I didn't want to hurt HK.
Right.
Poor HK.
Poor homicidal robot killing machine.
Then there's New Republic franchises, which is what I would mostly care about, which is TIE Fighter and Dark Forces. But obviously they didn't go to either of those.
Nope.
A new Battlefront game. Battlefront's alright.
As far as the, non-threatening Star Wars franchise edition, I think Battlefront is about as non-threatening as you can get.
There is a new Dragon Age game.
Yep, was about to get to this. Still don't care.
Pixie, have you ever played any Dragon Age?
Played part of the first one, didn't finish it, never touched the second one. So, yeah, that's where I am.
I think your story mirrors mine.
I couldn't get, the group combat mechanics to work for me. I feel like you had to play as a tank in order to get that to work because your NPCs were kind of stupid, and that's not the kind of role that I wanted to play. So, I just gave up on it. I was just I was interested in seeing where the story went, and then couldn't get through the combat enough to be able to.
Yep.
Well, I played the entire first game. Start to finish. Same character, whole way. Did play a tank, as you were saying, Pix, so maybe that's why I managed to finish it. I could stand there while my party members just finished off the enemies. I got so mad at the ending that I just immediately turned off the game and never put it back in, and completely skipped the second game because of it.
Although from what I understand, the second game is like a totally different character.
Totally different character, still in the same city. And I just checked out of the universe so hard because of the ending that, yeah, I had no desire to go back for a second round.
The second game is notorious for having, like, no level design. Like, there were a couple of areas that they modeled out, and then they copied and pasted them, like, 8 times. They got a huge negative reception because of that.
Do you mean like Mass Effect 1, then?
Kind of. Although, Mass Effect 1, I will forever defend the Mako sections, in part because they are isolated from the main story.
The side quests, though, come on.
Right. You kept visiting that same base, and I'm like, could we just blow this up? Because dudes keep moving into this place that want to kill me.
There totally was a lot of copying and pasting in Mass Effect 1. But not so much in the main areas, mostly in the side areas.
Yeah, it was those side quests, though. It was that same hall with 2 doors on either side.
Yep. So yeah, EA announced games, and a couple were cool, and most of them were kind of bleh. I don't care about any of the 4 sports franchises that they announced. Correction, 5, because EA just apparently owns sports now.
Get in the game.
NBA, so let's see, EA owns basketball, football, soccer, Ultimate Fighting.
I think hockey as well. I think.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if NHL was also owned by EA, but they didn't announce one of those.
Yeah. I'm just saying that EA has that, I think.
EA is sports. But yeah, I think despite being terrible at them, I think I would just rather go play the actual sports than the digital version of the sports. Now, can we go on to an amazing company story?
Sure.
The next press conference was by the company from Pixie's favorite Central European game developing country.
Are we talking about Ubisoft?
Yes, we are. The Frenchies.
I apparently have a thing for French games at this point.
I know that you're excited about Watch Dogs, at least.
Yeah, I'm super excited about Watch Dogs. I couldn't even tell you why.
Because Lord knows I am with that E3 trailer.
I couldn't even, like, if you asked me to give you a specific reason, I don't think I could. I don't know. It seems like there are a lot of options for ways to solve problems, and I like that.
Yeah, it really feels like how Hitman Blood Money played, where, yes, you have to solve this problem. Okay, find a solution, and you have all of these means open to you. Like, that's awesome. I'm so hyped for Watch Dogs. It's a shame that none of that was done in gameplay, that it was all cinematic, but supposedly everything that's done in that trailer can be done in the game.
Cool.
So, as is pretty typical for EA, for Ubisoft, they have their Tom Clancy series.
How did you get those two confused?
Because we were talking about it previously. They did their Tom Clancy series, Splinter Cell, Rainbow Six, those all got announced. We had a new cinematic trailer for Assassin's Creed 4. Yay.
There were boats.
There are boats. Boats are indeed a thing.
Boats are apparently like the central tenet of Assassin's Creed all of a sudden. That happened very quickly over the course of Assassin's Creed 3 and now Assassin's Creed 4, but people like the boats. Apparently they're well done.
Boats? Boats are a thing. Ubisoft has picked up the South Park Stick of Truth game that was given up by THQ earlier this year. Yes.
I played some South Park, like, Nintendo 64 video game when I was 8, and I didn't know anything about South Park. It was kind of my first exposure to it. You could throw snowballs, and then you could throw yellow snowballs that you had apparently peed into, I guess. I was like, this is weird. I don't get it. I'm 8.
Is that what you thought?
Correct.
You thought about your own age?
Yes. Don't ask me, I'm just a kid.
So I'm really surprised that you haven't said anything about the woman who was hosting the Ubisoft press conference.
There was a lady doing that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've gotten all of my news secondhand after Microsoft's little...
Aisha Tyler was the host.
Yeah, well, that's neat. I like her. But I stopped watching E3 after the Microsoft demonstration because I couldn't handle it.
Fair enough.
Lana.
But yes, Aisha Tyler did a fantastic job of hosting the event. Very entertaining.
Yeah. I like her. She's hosting the new Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Overall, yeah, Ubisoft seems to have a good lineup. I don't much care for the Tom Clancy stuff, but yeah, I'm willing to give Rayman a try. I am looking forward to the South Park game because it looks hilarious.
I'll confess something. I know people recommend the South Park show to me, but I can't watch it because I find the intro song annoying.
Why do I get the feeling the intro song is also going to find its way into the Stick of Truth?
Pretty likely.
Oh well, it looks awesome. It's an idiotic Lord of the Rings take with South Park in a full RPG. I can live with this.
Seems decent.
Right. So yeah, Ubisoft did a good job. Move on to Sony then?
Yeah, I'd say that Ubisoft did alright, but didn't shake the world, which is different
Nope.
from Sony, which did shake the world.
Who, in one move, and this was actually captured by the president of Sony, dropped the microphone and won the game.
Did he genuinely drop a microphone?
He did.
That is amazing. Okay, so you already know the price point, you already know that they're doing disc trading the same way. A couple of other things real quick. Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 15, Transistor is a launch exclusive for consoles.
Santa is real.
They did a lot of stuff.
Plus, the best mini trailer ever of here's how you share your games. Hand. There you go.
Thank you.
That was fabulous, and I absolutely loved it. Props to Sony for just winning. Like, effectively, their press conference, the first 20 minutes were, and here's how you do it right. Up on the big jumbotrons. Used games, we're okay with them. Sharing games, that's fine. No online check-ins. PlayStation Plus required for online play. No one really seemed to feel it was a big deal. System is region-free. Yes. Tons of great game lineups. Yeah.
Don't Starve is getting a console port, but only to the PlayStation 4.
Sweet. It's still one of the hardest games I've ever played, but I'll continue playing it.
I really like Don't Starve. Apparently there is a thing called Octodad Dadliest Catch, which I don't know anything about, but it certainly has a name. Octodad.
The PlayStation 4 unit still looks weird.
It's a rhombus.
It is.
Rhombozoidal prism.
It's fun that I have to look at my new entertainment center and just go, how do I fit the next-gen consoles in there?
Get rid of the old ones?
No. Because they're still making games for the other ones.
Oh, yeah, but you could get rid of the old ones.
My Sega Saturn is going to sit there in its position of gracious aging. It has earned that.
I'm just
I may
saying,
take down the Super Nintendo.
you haven't touched it in a while.
Really? You would keep the Saturn and ditch that SNES?
Yes. Because my favorite game of all time is on the Saturn, and there will come a day where it's just like, yes, I'm going to play this now.
Then you could plug it back in when you go to do that, which will be never.
Alright, I'll bite. What's the game?
It is a Japanese tactical RPG called Dragon Force that is absolutely wonderful. Also worth like $150.
Alright. But yeah, Pixie's probably right.
Probably. I'm not going to argue with this.
PlayStation 4 seems kinda smaller than the Xbox One by a lot.
Well, this is what happens when, you use the technology properly, instead of just cramming more in.
Besides that, you don't need to fit a Kinect into your entertainment center either.
Right. My PlayStation 4 isn't going to watch me when I decide to go play some games in my robe in the morning.
As I've said last podcast, you aren't going to have a robe. Stop lying. And then if Microsoft wants to watch you gaming in the buff, well, can't say we didn't warn them. There have been 2 podcasts about this.
Sorry, we have official sponsors now. I can't be as stupid as usual. So moving on. Sony pretty much didn't need to do anything except not screw up. And they did! In fact, they epically didn't fail. I didn't know that was a thing you could do.
So, grats for that.
Right? You didn't fail. Compliments.
Yeah, we're all kind of applauding Sony for doing things that they should probably be doing anyway.
In fact, we're applauding Sony, despite the fact that they did the anti-consumer thing of, yes, to play online you have to subscribe to our network. We're like, we don't care! You're still great!
It's at that point, it's like, well, you didn't make a reference to rape. That's a thing that people shouldn't have to, you shouldn't have to be patted on the back for.
Sony could have walked on stage and go, the PlayStation 4, it doesn't eat kittens.
You didn't bypass the rule of first sale. Again, that's the thing that we shouldn't be applauding them for. That's a thing that should happen anyway. I don't even...
Really, it's at the point where Microsoft has screwed up so hard that Sony can pretty much do anything, and we'll be okay with it. Sony can just do whatever they want, and it's fine. We're all cool.
Alright then. I know it sounds silly to talk about who won E3, but...
Well, we haven't gotten to the last company yet, which is kind of a big deal for them, too.
Yep.
Nintendo kind of blew it out of the water this year, too, in terms of games. Like, okay, let's go over the list, because this is actually really impressive. So, biggest confirmation, new Super Smash Bros. Not a big deal, we were kind of expecting it. But then we get into just how good these games look. For considering that basically the Wii U is, hey, let's bring the Wii up to the current gen of technology, and then go from there. The company that's actually putting out interesting games seems to be the one that's doing the best. So, new Super Smash Bros., it looks like a current-gen version of Smash Bros., but we do have some interesting characters announced for it. This year we're actually going to have, on the system, Mega Man. Kind of cool. He's a very classic Mega Man. Does all the things you'd expect him to. The trailer is very cool and just full of really nostalgic music. It's obviously a labor of love. Also, the woman from Wii Fit is going to be in the game.
Yeah, I saw that, and I wasn't even sure that was real.
Yep, has a trailer in which she proceeds to pummel Kirby, Link, and Mario out of existence with fitness moves.
Just like, man, Zuma's pretty hardcore, right?
You know what? In a game that has at one point featured Mr. Game & Watch, I'm completely okay with her addition. That's fine. Whatever.
It's like, we don't care.
Right. Mario Kart 8 announced.
So the Sony All-Stars thing never took off, did it?
No, it did not. Because you can't fight Smash Brothers. It already won that game. Sony does not have the flagship franchises to run a game like that. And besides, Smash Brothers already had Snake. We have the sequel to A Link to the Past, which will be coming out. Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds.
You're failing to mention the games that we are going to go play.
I don't think we know which ones those are yet.
We do, actually. So, we have 4 titles that we have confirmed for the demos being held at participating Best Buys. We will be going to the one in Bloomington, Illinois. Let's see, you've got the new Donkey Kong. It sounded like a fruit snack. What was it? Tropical Freeze, I think?
Yeah, that does sound like a fruit drink.
Yeah, okay. Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, Mario Kart 8, Super Mario 3D World, and The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker in HD. So those 4 are going to be available for demo, while they're also available for demo at E3, so...
Which is kind of neat. We also have a game that holds a special place in our hearts. Probably one of the bottom places in our hearts. Bayonetta 2, which is going to be a Wii U exclusive.
And she stole my haircut!
She stole Pixie's haircut.
Totally got rid of the weird, freaky beehive thing she had going on in 1, and then stole my haircut instead, probably because I criticized her old stupid haircut.
Which, if you ask me, is a little strange, considering Bayonetta uses her hair for her abilities, so wouldn't a shorter haircut take away power from her?
Well, if you look at the, magical anime girl transformation sequence that they do there, there's still a column of black coming from her when she does the transformation sequence, but...
Well, yeah, because if it's anything like the last game, her clothes are also made of her hair. Ew. So, yeah. Bayonetta 2, coming to the Wii U. It's a thing. We also have the next game from the makers of Wii-exclusive RPG Xenoblade Saga, which will be coming currently only called X, but realistically looks like a really cool RPG, and in a year that is not really flush with RPGs, could potentially be a really cool thing.
One other Nintendo thing I would like to mention that's not connected to the Wii U, but it is connected to the 3DS, and that doesn't get enough software announcements, so... Pokemon X and Y, the first 3D Pokemon title, will release for the 3DS on October 12th of this year worldwide. It will include a new 18th type of Pokemon. Yeah, that's how many we're up to. The Fairy type.
So many types.
Super effective against dragons, and includes a new Eevee evolution, which has ribbons on it. I'm not even joking. It has ribbons they are trying to pass off as, feelers.
Interesting. Yeah, that's what I've got there.
They say that they've retroactively added, Meryl and Jigglypuff to this fairy type, but they didn't mention Clefairy, which is kind of weird. It's in the name.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll give it a try. As always,
Officially, I think I'm kind of done with Pokemon.
You think you finally hit enough?
for the last 3 games or so, I haven't been able to freaking finish them, because I get to the point where I need to have more HN moves on my Pokemon to, like, traverse the environment than can fit on one Pokemon, and when 2 out of 6 of my Pokemon are no longer usable for actually battling, then I can't build a properly balanced team, and then I'm done. I find the HM moves super annoying, and they've just gone crazy with them.
That's when she hits the limit. Yeah, an unrealistic number of moves needed just to clear the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that as an issue.
If they had a separate pool that you could assign those moves to that wouldn't detract from the combat moves, then I would be willing to give it a stab, but no. It's just a super broken part of the game that I cannot justify spending any more money on.
Fair enough. Oh, all of these announcements for the Wii U actually make me kind of want one, because, like, this is officially the wave of, hey, here's our actual games, not just ports of games we already had, or half-hearted ports of games that already existed.
Or gimmicky things that are supposed to get you used to the technology.
Right. These look like actual games.
What was it, like Nintendo Land? What was that silly theme park themed thing?
Yeah, it was called Nintendo Land.
Yeah, hey, let's learn to use the controller. I don't know, with the list of games that are coming in 2014, I may actually want to have a Wii U, which is really saying something, because now I don't want an X-Bone at all.
Yeah, no, and I'm sticking to it, because I wanted to believe in the Microsoft generation of consoles. I love my Xbox 360. I've been, a loyal card-carrying, if you will, Xbox Live Gold member for years, despite my, rather small library of games that I have, but I play the ever-living crap out of. And honestly, I don't know. I'm done, I was excited about the new capabilities of the Kinect, the fact that it was bundled in, and therefore we were actually going to get games developed with that in mind, that weren't just silly gimmicks. I don't know. Like, I wanted to believe in that, and then Microsoft just kind of took a crap on that.
Yep.
Add to that it costs nearly as much as my, much more sophisticated PC rig.
Microsoft is going to have to work really, really hard if they want to try to sell me one of these things in the future, because right now I have zero plans of acquiring one.
At this point, I'm basically, like, hovering over the pre-order button for the PS4 on Amazon.
Yeah, and that's kind of sad, to be honest. As much as I enjoy my 360 right now, I have zero plans of getting an Xbox One. I don't feel particularly attached to any of the exclusives that they're offering. Like, yes, Halo's a thing, but then again, so are Let's Play videos. The exclusives that are coming to the PS4 sound much more appealing. I'm watching a video for Infamous Second Son right now, which honestly looks like one of the most gorgeous games I've ever seen. Even ditching the usual Infamous lightning-based powers for the fire effects, they look amazing. And this is an exclusive. It's kind of weird that we're going back to the age of exclusives when we kind of abandoned that during the current gen. Like, there are very few exclusives right now.
I don't know, and it's like, you kind of want to think maybe they're going to announce some more exclusives later, but how much later can we go? We're at E3. This is where everybody's supposed to tell you, here's what you're going to spend money on pre-Christmas, or whatever holiday.
Right, these systems are supposed to be out by holiday. It's interesting the way this one is gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we were more excited last E3. Does that make any sense?
Well, yeah, because last E3 was the peak of the current console gen.
Well, that and last E3 was also, I think, when Nintendo was making all of those crazy promises about stuff that was going to come out on the 3DS that they didn't make good on? Or is that the year before I'm thinking of?
That's every year.
Cute.
Every year Nintendo's like, check out what's coming next year. Alright, so 2 to 3 years from now. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Speaking of which...
A thing came out on the 3DS that we didn't think would ever come out.
By which I mean, it's been out in Japan. It was called Animal Forest Jump Out in Japan. Which, yeah, it came out November of 2012. It's now June of 2013. Like, I don't even. So, Animal Crossing New Leaf on the Nintendo 3DS is now out in North America. Hooray. And I managed to get my hands on it. And I played it for a few hours today. I am about 3.5 hours in. I mean, because Animal Crossing, as a franchise, takes place in real time, so I have to wait for some things to happen tomorrow for things to get interesting. But I have the character set up in my town. I've added a couple people to my friends list. Pyro, I think you're planning on playing with me later, once you get internet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing Animal Crossing with you. It's gonna be fun.
Ah, excellent. So, we'll do that, and so you show up in your town. Through some wacky comical misunderstanding, the townsfolk have decided that you're going to be the mayor. After all, you're the only one who got off on the train, and that was the train they were expecting the mayor to come off on. And then you later get, like, a letter from the person who was actually supposed to be mayor who, like, sends you an anonymous letter that's all like, yeah, I think I was supposed to do that, but, you know, whatever, you'll be fine.
You think most people would be upset about losing a mayorship?
And also that they didn't actually know who it was. Is this, like, assigned to them? Didn't they vote? I don't think Nintendo understands how mayors work.
Is this like princesses and queens?
I'm now wishing I could convince a few 100,000 people to just vote for some random person to be mayor who didn't even run for it. It's like, Ted, good news, you're mayor. I'm what?
Basically. So, there's local play, and internet play, a lot of Street Pass use. There's like a Dream Suite thing where you can upload your characters. It's a dream state version of your town for people to come and play in, that doesn't actually exist. So, you know, you can upload that, people can show up and pull out all your flowers and chop down all your trees and stuff, and it doesn't matter because none of that's real. So I guess that could be a neat way to work out some catharsis, is to show up in somebody's fake town and ruin everything.
More or less the I don't trust my friends enough to let them into my actual town, so I'm going to do this one for safety's sake.
Yeah, but you don't play together in that way.
I suppose.
The notion is that your system doesn't even need to be powered on for people to access your dream town.
Yeah. Is you just upload that version.
Oh, okay.
And then that's an environment that people can separately explore on their own. They added swimming. If you get a dive suit, you can swim in the ocean and grab stuff. The models are a little bit more complex. It's 3D. Woo. Instead of like this little squat person who just wears a shirt / dress, you've got a more elongated body shape that will enable you to wear like hats, accessories, shoes, like pants and skirts, and tops in like 3 different sleeve lengths, tanks, tees, and shirts. I find their naming convention for these things a little bit amusing. I was given something called a gray parka, and I'm like, this is a hoodie. So that was kind of funny. So you show up, and instead of moving into a tiny, crappy, already there house like you have in the past games, there's nothing there. You, like, talk to Nook, who is now a real estate agent instead of running the shop, which he's deferred to his younger nephews, whose parents are nowhere around and never have been. So Nook's all like, yeah, I guess we'll build you a house. Just show me where you want to put it. And you just walk across the trade tracks and wander around the town and be like, I guess we'll put it here. Okay, that's fine. There you go. And then he's like, well, I need a down payment of 10,000 bells, the in-game currency, from you before I can break ground on this, so you have to, like... It's like you've got no money for anything. Need to somehow scrounge up 10,000 bells by doing errands and collecting random crap like fruit and seashells and selling it before you can even start construction on the house, and that'll take a day. So it's like you're sleeping in a tent that you're borrowing from this fat old squirrel, or raccoon rather, just for, you know, until we get started on your house. So some of that's kind of wacky. New characters. They've added a bunch more shops. There's like a main street that's like just a line of all the shops and the museum and all that. So you've got some returning characters like the Able sisters, the Porcupine sisters who run the clothes store, plus an extra section of that store run by an extra new character for accessories. You've got the same Owl Blathers running the museum, but his sister is mysteriously, you know, not around. The museum is just one level, and the observatory run by his sister that used to be upstairs, not there. The coffee shop that used to be downstairs and run by a pigeon, not there. So they seem to have taken away a lot of stuff in addition to adding a lot of new stuff. Who knows, maybe that stuff will come back later, I don't know. The idea is that now that you're mayor, instead of just focusing on making your house pretty by buying different upgrades and decorations for your house, the external furniture for the inside, stuff like that, which has basically been the point of the other 2 titles, you now are responsible for making improvements to the town overall. So you're going to raise funds to add new shops and places to go, participating in events for the town in the town square. There's like a little celebration ritual when you get kind of sworn in as mayor where you plant a tree there. A lot of stuff that's very, like previous games, there's a lot of time-sensitive stuff that's like, there's going to be snow on the ground in winter. Different holidays are going to, under cutesy little avoidance of names thing. It's the kind of thing that you're not going to sit there for hours and hours and hours playing, generally, but that you'll pop on for a little bit, like every day, just to check and see what's new in the stores, do a little bit of fishing to get more money in, that kind of thing. Put some new attractions in your museum, stuff like that. We're hoping to have a little bit more robust multiplayer, now that you can have up to 3 people visiting your town at once. You can all travel to a island where it's always summer, play specialized mini games there. They've added a whole bunch, so I'm looking forward to this. We shall see. I haven't had a chance to play any of the multiplayer yet, unfortunately, because a lot of folks are not online at the same time as me.
Or don't own 3DSs.
That is also a problem with the people I happen to know. I guess if anybody wants to add me to their 3DS friends list or play with me in my town, send an email to me at pixie@nerdtalkshow.com.
Please come play with me.
Somebody owns a 3DS, right?
Horrible gamers.
Right?
You're funny.
So yeah, this isn't meant to, sit there and have 6 hours sucked out of your day, but, pop on for an hour or 2. It'll get you through waiting at, outside the dentist's office or something. Thing between classes. There's a lot of extra interactions added. I forgot to mention that the little play coins you get for it, the 3DS counts steps you take and awards you these little play coins for counting so many steps. So you get 1 coin for every 100 steps you take, and can earn up to 10 coins a day for a maximum of 300 in your player bank at any given time. I guess you could also technically get play coins by shaking your 3DS, but you can use those coins for 2 coins per cookie, to buy a fortune cookie at one of the shops, and it'll play like the lottery where you'll be able to turn in that ticket for some special item that you can't buy in a store. So that's neat. So it integrated that a little bit. The Street Pass, Spot Pass gets integration in a way that Wild World couldn't previously. So people can check out your town that way and showcase your home so you can, pop into people's houses. It's neat, I think. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I've been excited about this for a long time, but because it kept getting delayed, I just figured it wasn't going to come out in the States, and then it totally surprised me and came out of left field when it finally did.
Pixie.
Yeah?
Was there another long-awaited game that actually came out that you've played since we last talked to you?
Are we talking about Remember Me?
We are.
Yeah, so I played about 3 hours of that as well. We recorded the beginnings of a Let's Play, which is gonna get out to you guys, I promise. It just takes a while for these things to get rolling. But there's stuff recorded. It's interesting, it's not quite what I was expecting. So you play as Nilin, who, you start the game in a prison situation. They're about to wipe your brain in there. And some guy starts talking to you in your head. I don't know how, because doesn't seem like you should have any access to communications if you're a prisoner, but whatever. You've got a Sensen implanted in your head that acts as like a weird augmented reality UI that apparently everybody has now. And the corporation that makes them is apparently evil, and you are... The game calls the group that you're with errorists, as a very, very shoehorned in pun on terrorist, which is what you guys actually seem to be. So this guy, I think his name is Edge, talks you through getting out of the prison, and you meet up with him, get your gear back, and discover that you forgot who you are, and you have this power to alter people's memories. You can, hack into them, find glitches, and then change the way that people remember events happening. The first instance that you use this, I don't know if I can spoil this. Pyro, what do you think?
Go for it.
So might be potentially a little bit of a spoiler, but it's towards the beginning. It's basically your first pseudo-boss? I don't know. It's not a combat boss, but something else.
It's the first memory remixing sequence in the game.
Yeah, and that's, a really important thing. Is where there's a bounty hunter coming after you, and you rearrange her memories. Her husband is ill, and in hospital, she saw him earlier that day, and instead of, oh, he's on the road to recovery, and we're slowly curing him with your help, Mrs. So-and-so, it's, you change her memories so that the doctor kills him, just in the way that she remembers the events of that morning happening, so that she doesn't kill you. You've changed her entire reason for fighting, and she turns on her employers. I don't know what's going to happen when she goes back to, like, the hospital and discovers that he's not actually dead.
It is weird to me how quickly the effects of your changes rippled. Like, not only did you change her memory of the fact that her husband died, but this immediately translates to her rationalizing why she got in her airplane and flew over to come meet with you, even though that is all a thing that happened regardless of her memory.
So, that's kind of odd. But, and it took us about 3 hours for us to get to a point where Nilin has some actual motivation for hanging around these people. So far it seems to just be, these people seem to know who I am, and I'm going to just trust them and go along with whatever it is they tell me to do, even so far as enabling them to flood a town, which has to have killed some people.
Which very clearly killed people, according to the news broadcasts.
She seems to be repulsed by acts of violence done by the game's antagonists, the corporation and all that.
Memorize.
And doesn't seem to have a whole lot of problems perpetuating violence, even on an emotional level, of her own. She'll kill dudes in a fight.
During the fight with Kid Christmas, which is a thing that happened in a trailer in promotional materials. Well, this is again kind of super spoilery for the early part of the game, but in the Let's Play I was shouting for her to do her finishing move on Kid Christmas, wherein she blows their brains out in some virtual fashion with their sense.
Where you just, like, overload their memories or something, I don't know.
And I was expecting her not to do this, because she kind of doesn't have any reason to kill this old compatriot of hers once she's escaped from this scenario. But she just straight up ices the dude. It doesn't, like, seem to hesitate. It's just like, yeah, murder.
Yeah, that's a little bit strange, to put it lightly. Now we're finally at a point where, again, potentially mild spoilers, this is going to be the beginning of, I think, the whole game's actual storyline, where she goes, oh, the corporation that wiped my memory keeps a backup of those things. I'm going to go get my identity back.
Well, yeah, that's kind of a great idea. It's too bad we didn't think of this earlier.
Perhaps she didn't know this earlier.
Just means that the first chapter of the game was a bit of a non sequitur to the second chapter. It's like, I guess I'll just obey this voice, and then I guess I'll suddenly stop obeying this voice with no real event triggering it.
So, I mean, I don't have too many strong opinions of Remember Me. The combat's kind of tricky, but once you get used to it, it's pretty decent.
Do you plan to keep playing it?
I totally do. We're recording more Let's Play for it. But I would keep playing it even if we weren't.
Hooray.
I am giving it the chance to win me over here. Besides, we don't get too many games with female protagonists. I'm interested to see where this goes. There's another point that I was kind of disappointed with, now that I'm thinking about it, is that you've got these huge, beautiful environments, and I just desperately want to explore them, but the game is super linear, and that's kind of fine, but I really don't know a way to distinguish what's just background stuff to be pretty and what I'm actually able to climb on. And there'll be instances where she's doing, like, some crazy parkour and climbing and running around and jumping on stuff, not just in a cutscene, but, like, to get to certain areas. And for some parts you can do that, and for other areas you just can't, and there's no real reasonable way to discern what way that is.
It has vaguely Assassin's Creed-esque parkour, except for the part where you can literally, almost always, only interact with the next 1 to 2 items in the linear sequence. And that includes the fact that you cannot interact with things directly behind you that you just climbed on 20 seconds ago. For example, if there is a health restoration kit...
I guess I can't call it a linear game, because that implies you can go back and forth both ways. It's more of a ray.
Math joke. Super math nerds. Holla.
Well, this is Nerd Talk. Insert this is Spinal Tap joke.
Turn it to 11.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's getting kind of weird. in that way. And of course, since I've just been playing, it's only made all the worse in that we contextualize this with I've just been playing all of the Assassin's Creed games, where you can just literally run around and jump on anything. It's there, you can climb on it.
The Assassin's Creed games get a bit of a bad rap for taking a long time to start up. They do a lot of world building before they actually do a thing. Remember Me so far has felt like there's not a lot of context for a lot of stuff that the player is doing. We're just right up in it immediately. And we don't know who Kid Christmas is for more than 20 minutes before we kill him.
Yeah. I don't know. Does it seem a little bit rushed to you?
A bit.
So, I don't know. That's where I stand on it first look. Again, this is first blush, 3 hours in. I haven't really put as much into it as we usually do before giving an actual in-depth review of these things. So, keep that in mind. It's not going to be the end-all be-all. And my opinion might change as we get further into the game. But there you have it. We got anything else?
E3, Animal Crossing, and Remember Me. It's been a decent week, and there will be a lot more to talk about after all of this E3 stuff sort of pans out and we get all the back channels information from the platform holders and publishers.
Yeah, I do feel a little bit bad that we haven't posted anything since, May, but you just moved across the country from New Mexico to Ohio.
That's right.
And Sten also moved in the time since we've had our last show.
Yep.
With the changing of the semester comes the changing of residences.
So, now it's summer, and I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between states and traveling all over the place in the next coming weeks, so we'll see where this goes. It'll be interesting. I guess y'all can expect a Remember Me Let's Play to start showing up from us. And next show, what do we have planned?
Man of Steel comes out this Friday. I will be there.
Okay, cool. Oh, and then also we get our hands on the 4 games that I mentioned from Nintendo's E3 demo set, so there'll be that too.
Yep, those will be coming tomorrow.
Alright, so yeah, I guess that'll be a pretty full show too. In the meantime, I'm Pixie.
I'm Zen.
And I'm pyrosim.
And you've been listening to Nerd Talk. Thank you.